Hi everyone, and welcome back to Queen G's Recipes. And today I am going to be showing you how I like to make my chocolate chip cookie cheesecake. Now it is very, very delicious, definitely a treat, but I decided I would share with you my take on this recipe. So for the crust, we'll be needing some chocolate chip cookies. Now what I have here is 2 full cups of chocolate chip cookies, which is equal to 14 chocolate chip cookies. I also have 4 tablespoons of butter, which I have already melted. In here we have 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1/8 a teaspoon of salt. Now my butter is unsalted, that's why I'm adding in the salt. If you're using salted butter, then you can just omit the salt. And here what we have is our springform pan. I am using a 9-inch springform pan. You can also use a 10-inch. That is optional as well. The cheesecake will be a little bit lower, but that is all up to your preference. So we'll be making our base in our food processor, and we'll go on to the next step. I did not mention that in your springform cheesecake pan, you will need to generously either spray it down with some nonstick spray or just grease it with some softened butter or margarine. Make sure it is well greased. Okay, so now we'll place our cookies in our food processor. I like to just start breaking them just to give it a heads up. And now we're going to crush our cookies, and then we'll add in the remaining ingredients. Alright, so now that we've given our cookies a heads up, they're not completely crumbled yet, but that's how we want it. We'll add in our sugar and salt. Okay, then we'll add in our melted butter. Right. And now we're going to mix this until we have a sand-like consistency. Okay, so this is what your mixture should look like. And now I always place a cookie sheet under my springform pan just in case we have any batter or anything leaking through the bottom of the pan. So now we're going to place this into our pan. Now you can use some clean hands here and just press it into the bottom of the pan. You can use the back of a cup, a measuring cup, whatever you have, whatever makes your life easier. Now I'm going to set this aside in my fridge and we're going to move on to working on our filling. Alright, so before moving on to our filling, you want to make sure that you have your oven preheating to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And now we'll move on to our ingredients. So what I have here is 4 packages of cream cheese softened at room temperature. I have 5 whole eggs. We're going to be using 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste. If you don't have vanilla paste, you can use 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Here I have 1 cup of mini chocolate chips. If you don't have mini, you can use the regular chocolate chips. We also have 3 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 cup of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of sour cream. Now I'm going to be making this in my standing mixer, but most definitely you can do this with a handheld electric mixer as well. Alright, so into our mixer with our whisk attachment, or you can use your paddle attachment if you want as well. we're going to add in our softened cream cheese. Okay. And now we're going to mix this for a minute or two until we have our cream cheese extremely creamy and with no lumps. Okay, so our cream cheese is nice and fluffy, light and creamy. And now we're going to add in our sugar. And we're going to add in our vanilla paste. Okay. Now what I have also done in the meantime is I have added my cornstarch to my chocolate chips and gave them a good mix. Now this will allow our chocolate chips to run throughout the batter and not fall to the bottom of our cheesecake. So we're going to mix again for another minute or so. Alright, so now we'll add in our sour cream. And we'll mix for another 20 seconds or so. Alright, so now we're going to add in our eggs one at a time and continue mixing as you're adding in your eggs. Alright, so I have removed my bowl from my standing mixer, and now for this part of our recipe you are going to have to change from whatever machine you're using to a spatula. Now as I went along mixing all my ingredients throughout all the steps, I always was scraping down the sides of my bowl with a spatula. It's very important so that you don't have chunks of cream cheese or anything at the bottom or throughout your batter. You want to have a nice creamy batter. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our chocolate chips and cornstarch and we're going to add it in, and we're just going to mix with our spatula. Alright, now we're ready to place this into our prepared crust. Okay, so now we'll place our cheesecake into our prepared crust here. And now I also wanted to mention, if you don't have any cornstarch on hand, you can also use flour. Alright. Now we're going to place this into our preheated oven for about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. I'll let you know how long mine was in there for and what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so my cheesecake was in the oven for exactly 1 hour. Now it does vary from oven to oven, so just keep an eye on it. When you notice that the middle of your cheesecake is just a little bit jiggly, then you know your cheesecake is done. Don't worry if your cheesecake cracks on the top, because we're going to be topping it with a sour cream topping and then with some cookie crumbles. So right now I have just removed it from the oven and I'm going to place my sour cream topping. Now for the sour cream topping, I have 3/4 cups of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 3 tablespoons of icing sugar or powdered sugar. So you're going to place that on top of your cheesecake. Okay. You're going to spread it evenly. And we're going to bake this for an extra 8 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so the sour cream topping baked for 8 minutes. Now we're going to let it sit at room temperature for 10 minutes. And then we're going to run a butter knife around the edges. And then we'll allow it to sit at room temperature again for another hour. And after that, we'll place it into our fridge and we'll leave it either overnight or for at least 6 to 8 hours in your refrigerator before adding our cookie crumble topping. Alright, so my cheesecake was in the refrigerator overnight, and as you can see, it's perfect. It's ready to be removed from our springform pan. And now just a few tips and suggestions. I wasn't concerned about the overall look on the top because I was going to cover my cheesecake with cookie crumbles. But if you do want your cheesecake to stay just as it is, I do suggest 2 things. So I suggest you don't put any vanilla extract on your sour cream topping, the last part of the cheesecake. And I do suggest that you double the sour cream topping, or just spread it evenly if you only want to use the one recipe of the sour cream topping. So either or, whatever you prefer, but I just want to give you a few tips if you don't want to cover your if you don't want to cover your cheesecake with cookie crumbles. So you can use whipped cream and cookies and decorate it in different ways, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to simply place some crumbled cookies. This is what I did. I put 5 cookies in a bag and I just hit them with my rolling pin until they resembled these crumbs here. Not too crumbly, but you can see. And that's what I did. So that's how I'm going to be topping mine. So now let's release our cheesecake. And look at that. Perfection. Okay, so as I mentioned, overnight is always best, but 8 hours is ideal to wait for the cheesecake to set in your fridge. And as I mentioned before, I left my cheesecake out for 1 hour after running a knife around the edges, which was 10 minutes after baking. And then I left it for an hour on my countertop at room temperature. Then I placed it in my fridge and left it overnight. So it's been in my fridge for a good 12 to 14 hours. Now, now is a good time for us to place our toppings. So either you can use the crumbled cookies or whatever topping you prefer. So I'm just going to go around and spread it. You can actually cut the slices of cheesecake and then sprinkle some just on the single pieces. I mean, you could do whatever you like. There are so many possibilities. And now it's time to cut a slice of our cheesecake and try it. This is the inside. Just look how amazing it looks. You have the chocolate chips running through the cheesecake, which is what we added into our filling. Just amazing. So now we're gonna try it. I cannot even tell you guys, like, it is so creamy, and it's not overly sweet. It's actually just perfect. The cheesecake tastes like you're having this enormous chocolate chip cookie, creamy cheesecake. Like, I can't even explain it. It was really simple to make, and the only thing is, like a lot of desserts that are very delicious, you need to wait for them to cool off or be in the refrigerator for a certain amount of time. But it's definitely worth it. I do definitely suggest you guys try this as soon as you can. So easy to make, so delicious, so simple. And I really hope you guys give it a try. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to share this video, share it with your family, share it with your friends. Enjoy the recipe, enjoy the cheesecake along with all my other recipes. Go take a look on my channel. View all my older recipes. I have some other cheesecakes there as well. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so you can receive all my new delicious uploads of my new recipes. And that's about it. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.